Welcome. Come with me. The doctors will see you now.
Hello and welcome to a very special episode of Fast Talks with Family Docs. I'm Dr. Veer Vidala, joined by my esteemed co-host, Dr. Phil Palmer.
Thanks, Veer. Good to see you again.
Thanks, sir.
And today we have a very special episode. We're doing something a little different. If you're on the audio format as usual, listeners, we have something new. And the something new is it's not just listeners, it's watchers. So our followers now have the chance to join us in a different way. And we decided we'd kick off by interviewing each other and give you guys a little look behind the scenes of the podcast and get to know us as the hosts a little bit better.
Yes, sir. That's perfect. And, we're adding another first to this episode, and it's going to be the first of our videos. And for those of us, of you guys who've tuned in for us, you finally get to see the faces behind the voices, all right? And it's a new experience for us, and we're really excited to bring you along. And this episode is going to be a little deep dive into who we are, not just as physicians, but as people who are passionate about family medicine, patient care, advocacy, and connecting with our community.
Yeah, definitely. And so our apologies if you decide to see the faces behind the voices and go back to just the voices. That's okay. We understand. But we just wanted to have an opportunity to chat with each other and let you guys hear a little more about us and what drives us and what's the motivation behind this podcast.
Perfect, sir. So let's get started. Welcome to Fast Talks with Family Docs.
So, Veer, we've had a lot of different guests on this podcast, and we've learned a lot about them.
Yes, sir.
But we've not let anybody learn much about us. And so we'll give our listeners a chance and to learn about us and to hear something about the voices behind the microphones. And so what leads to you being here today? Let's start with kind of medical school and how you ended up in family medicine, since that really drives what we're doing.
Yeah, that's great, sir. Yeah. I'm not going to lie. I was actually went into medical school, wanted to be a pediatrician,
Okay.
right? And thought I was going to do that from first and second year of medical school, and did all of the volunteering for pediatrics. And then third year came along, and as you know, third years were kind of like where you really find yourself. Going through all of the different stages and different rotations. And I didn't have my pediatrics rotation until the very end of third year.
Okay.
But halfway through, I had my family med rotation, just something really connected there. I was seeing kids, which I like to do, but then I got the variety of seeing adults too and getting to do procedures. And the other thing was and maybe this speaks volumes to the OU School of Community Medicine in Tulsa, but the family medicine department there, you walk in and you get to know them, and you're like, these are my people, and it felt like I found like-minded people. And then I really enjoyed that rotation, did really well, and got to know a lot of people, made connections. But then I went to my pediatrics rotation, and I realized I didn't enjoy it as much, which was really weird,
Yeah.
And I go through that, and the beginning of fourth year and over that summer, we're studying and taking our tests, and I'm just like, maybe family medicine is what I really want to do. And I decided to go family medicine after talking to my mentors and went through fourth year doing all of the family medicine sub-Is, doing my rural rotations. I did sports med, and I was like, I made the right decision, and residency and even my practice now has not changed my mind. I think I'm in the right place. And as you know, family medicine physicians are, we go beyond just our job, and
Right.
I think we care about the community, and that's part of like my reasoning behind it. Where Carrie and I were talking one day, and we're like, how do we reach more audience? How do we build up our family med physicians? How do we include our community? How do we advocate for our patients? And we thought, well, podcasts are a great idea. The American Family Physicians has a podcast that's more CME, but we wanted to gear that towards a little bit more involvement and looking for leadership to take on this project, and that's where we found you. Right? What about you, sir? I would love to know your journey and your story. I've already gotten to know you as a co-host and as one of my mentors and one of the bigger influences in my life. So I think the audience would love to know about you as well.
Yeah, well, I grew up in the small town of Miami, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And I honestly have no idea when I was growing up there if they had pediatricians in town. I would imagine they did,
Right.
but the docs I knew were family docs.
Yeah.
And so the times I got hurt growing up, even before we moved to Oklahoma, it was going to a family doctor, taking care of me and doing things. And so a variety of different injuries,
Yeah.
little minor skin procedures, regular checkups, all that kind of stuff was always with a family doctor.
Right.
And so that to me, I didn't really know anything different. I hadn't had injuries. I didn't need to see an orthopedic surgeon. I didn't need to see other specialists. Going to the doctor meant going to see a family medicine doctor that the whole family went to. And so I actually went to medical school with that kind of general thought
Right.
in mind that I wanted to do that. But I'll tell you, when I started doing my third year rotations, I loved everything. Orthopedic surgery was first. I was like, man, this is so
This is
cool.
awesome.
This is so fun. But then, I guess arrogant little me as a third year medical student, I remember very vividly that there were the chief resident and a couple of other orthopedic surgery residents taking care of a patient and sitting down on rounds and them saying, well, his high blood pressure is high. We better get an internal medicine consult to come and manage his blood pressure. Right. And so now I can understand why they did that. That's not in their wheelhouse. They're not keeping up with the current blood pressure medications and all those other kind of things. Mm-hmm. But at that time, as a third-year medical student, I'm thinking, but you're a doctor.
Yeah.
Why don't you take care of the blood pressure yourself? And so that was the kind of thing that wanted to drive me, is have that broad approach to take care of different problems that my patients had and kind of be a resource for them and do as much as I really could for them. And that continued to follow me all the way through.
Yeah. Yeah. What about the podcast? What inspired you to join the team?
That's something I've listened to podcasts for such a long time and always enjoyed it and thought that would be an interesting thing to do. Mm-hmm. But I didn't really know what I would want to do a podcast about and how to make it happen and how to access equipment and how to get it online out there and things like that. And so it was always just kind of kicking around in the back of my mind, but not really much motivation as to whether it would be a medicine-related topic or a non-medicine-related topic and how I would kick it off. And last year, Carrie was talking about we need to get family medicine out there and was listing a bunch of ways to engage docs across the state of Oklahoma, and the podcast as an option was out there. And I was like, that's a great idea right there. There's something I can get behind.
Right.
And so I followed up with her and said, I can't do this by myself, though. There's going to have to be some help. And she said, well, I know this doc I've already been talking to who wants to start doing some podcasting. And so we got in touch with you. And so I'm a rookie at this podcasting, but I've heard you're not. You already have done some podcasting, haven't you?
Well, so I've gotten, with my job at Norman Regional, we started a podcast because I work with my brother, and it's called Vital Visions with the Vidala Brothers, and it's basically highlighting the Norman Regional community and our providers, and at the same time providing some medical education to our patients. And so we set that out, but I'm not gonna lie, I have a lot more fun here doing this with you too, and I'm not going to tag on my brother, but sometimes it gets kind of hard. But yeah, both podcasts have been an invaluable experience because it's something new and something that you get to learn from, and I get to meet all kinds of amazing people every time we do this.
Right.
Speaking of amazing people, we've had so many really, really good, amazing, inspiring guests that have come on the podcast, and it's really hard to name my favorite. But do you have one that just like comes to your mind saying, wow, that was such a great episode and I really enjoyed that?
Two, and it's our most recent two.
Okay, wow. Yeah.
I really love, I think almost our most recent two. I really love Steve Crawford.
Yeah.
And just hearing him talk about the early years of family medicine in Oklahoma and the different people that were involved in growing the University of Oklahoma family medicine program and how he got involved in that program and got involved in family medicine advocacy. And I've talked to Steve over the years, and I knew bits and pieces of that, but sitting down and hearing him fill in the details of his medical training and the different things, I just loved hearing that. And then secondly was Charlie Womack.
Yeah, oh my gosh.
And that was just a great episode, listening to Charlie's stories and what he's done as a doc. And to me, that's kind of fascinating as well, the nuances of, as you said earlier, what family medicine lets you do. How about you?
Yeah.
What's favorite episodes for you?
I gotta second you on that. listening to Dr. Womack, so the really cool thing that he does now with in his pilot training or pilot
the aeromedical examiner.
yeah, I mean that's really cool and speaks volumes to what broad diversity of jobs that family medicine docs can do and are still doing.
Right.
But I think the most important thing is listening to him talk about his journey and how he never went to work like any day of his life feeling exhausted or not wanting to go back was just truly inspiring.
Yeah.
And I'm jealous of him. You know, there's days where I'm just like, okay, here we go again. Got to go and go do this, take care of our patients. And I want that in life, because if that's your job, then it's not really a job, right? What a fascinating man, and what a great episode. And I love Dr. Crawford's episode too. Definitely one of my favorites. I could always listen to that man talk, and he was not only such an inspiring person, but he's so passionate about family medicine, and then he's so passionate about bringing people up that, and I've seen that as a student, as you know, attending at OU, and it never ceases to inspire me. You know, like always, how does he keep his spirits up so high? And I also really liked Dr. Abby Woods' recent episode. She's our current president of OAFP, because I'm really excited about where the future of OAFP is going and the plans for this next year, and bringing people together, with some social events or other plans we have. And it's always good to hear and think about the future. All of them. We can't pick one, right?
No, that's true. That's true. And I think along the lines of what you just said, I want to give you another question.
Yeah.
So one of the things that helped connect me with family medicine was going to quarterly CME activities and getting to sit down and talk to other family docs and get to know them and know what they did in their career and in their practice. Even when I was already in residency and knew I was going to be a family medicine doc, I really liked that opportunity.
Right.
The advent of the internet and online CME, and then most recently COVID and everything, it's really changed how often docs get together. And even when there are public CME gatherings, not as many docs come to that as there used to be. And so that's why I'm excited about Abby's desire and drive to kind of bring us together with some social, sometimes related to CME, sometimes not, activities to engage as family docs. And I hope our podcast does that for people as well, is gives them a chance to hear what different family docs around the state are doing, what they're like, what their passions are, and just invigorate the listener docs about what family medicine can be for them and the value of what they're doing in their practice and in their community and within the state. So briefly tell us what you've done since residency. What's been your career path from when you finished residency? How have you engaged with family medicine?
Oh, wow, great question, sir. So I right after residency, I took I wanted to teach, right? And I wanted to give that a shot. And I was like, the time to do it is now, where all of my skills are the freshest. And so went to OU as a assistant physician, like a assistant professor, right, with the residency, and did 2 years of teaching there. Absolutely loved it. Invaluable experience. The people at OU Family Medicine Oklahoma City are just some of the best people I know.
For sure.
You know, Dr. Barrett, Dr. Coleman, Olivia Luss, some of my best friends are still at OU. And then I wanted to try something new. I wanted to learn more, you know, maybe come into the private sector world. You know, with academic medicine, you're kind of pulled in a couple of places, and I wanted to kind of focus on some of my own interests. So, and one of my passions is kind of like lifestyle health and weight loss, because it's something that I've in my family and personally struggled with. And so I took a job at Norman as a primary care physician, and then spent time at learning and getting board certified in obesity medicine. And now I have kind of a hybrid practice where I do metabolic weight loss assistance to patients, and then I have my primary care practice. And during that time, in these last 2 years, I've also allocated that to community outreach. And so now I I did the podcast with Vital Visions. I got way more involved in OAFP, which has been really nice.
Yeah.
Learning about advocacy, learning from leaders like you and Carrie, and I'm also involved with the Obesity Medical Association, and I'm doing some community outreach there, writing articles, and being part of the CME community there. Not CME, but the medical community there.
Right.
And so it's been really nice. I think I'm kind of adapting, and it's kind of interesting experience of how diversely things I'm doing right now in multiple different places. But I think that's the beauty of family medicine.
It is,
and it's been great. And I have a lot more interest, and I just don't have time, right? So you, as you've noted, like you've done a lifestyle medicine
Right.
certification, right?
Yes.
So that's something I'm pursuing right now, and that we don't get that education about nutrition, and I'm learning so much about nutrition. One of my key interests is POCUS, and I want to learn more about POCUS, so
Right.
that's something I want to look into moving forward. But I think those are my next aims is if once this stuff gets cleared and I'm done with this lifestyle nutrition stuff I'm learning, maybe I'll tailor it over to POCUS and reach out to Dr. Olivia Lust and Michael McCoy. I saw their presentation and I was blown away. I'm like, guys, help me, Gosh, what about you, sir? I mean, you've been teaching for so long.
Yeah.
Right?
So I had a similar desire, in towards the end of my residency, I wanted to get more comfort with orthopedic medicine.
Yeah.
And so I was fortunate enough to get to do a sports medicine fellowship at OU on the tail end of my residency. And that was just a great experience. Loved doing that. Was able to join the orthopedic group where I did that fellowship. And so I was part-time teaching residency and part-time with my own private sports medicine practice, and did both of those for about 6 years. But with some changes in the orthopedic group and then some moves I had to make, it was just kind of hard getting that in a new practice, in a new city, in a new setting, getting that sports medicine practice built back up part-time. And so eventually I decided I need to go full-time one way or the other, and doors opened up for me to join the residency full-time, which I did. And so I've been doing that for over 20 years now, full-time with the residency. And about 16 years ago, I was looking for a little more to do, and just felt like, I'm joking, looking for more to do. I had plenty to do.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
But I felt like I needed to do something additional with my life, and just really felt led to join the Army.
Yeah.
And so I've been an Army doctor for the last 16 years, and doing that in addition to what I get to do here in the community, and then been fortunate enough to be involved with the OAFP for quite a while. And that's something that I'm happy to talk about a little bit more, and I'd love to hear also your story about getting engaged with the OAFP, but maybe now's a good time for us to take a break and end this episode. And so listeners and watchers, we'll see you next time on Fast Talks with Family Docs.
Thank you for joining us today. The doctors would like to see you back for another check-in. Please choose to follow our podcast, and you will automatically be notified when it's time for your next appointment.